What you are about to hear is a true movie review about a true story. At least it's based loosely on a true story. In 2022, Preston E. Garrison decided he would start reviewing horror and sci-fi movies for YouTube. This is his review on a movie called The Strangers.
Stranger danger!
Hi, my friends, or should I say fiends, because today your tour guide to the horror side is taking you on a ride deep into the woods with three masked killer weirdos called The Strangers.
Stranger danger!
The Strangers is a 2008 horror movie that is inspired by true events. But rather than hear me yap about it, let's let this Law and Order sounding narrator tell you.
What you are about to see is inspired by true events. According to the FBI, there are an estimated 1.4 billion violent crimes in America each year. On the night of February 11, 2005, Kristen McKay and James Hoyt left a friend's wedding reception and returned to the Hoyt family's summer home. The brutal events that took place there are still not entirely known.
This is their story. Boom, boom. True, the movie is based on actual events, but it is loosely based on an event that happened to director Brian Bertino as a child. On a night his parents were out, some strangers knocked on the door of his house. His sister answered it, and strangers asked if some random name was home.
Stranger danger!
Is Tamara here?
No. I got the wrong house.
The sister said no to this, and the strangers left. It was later found out that these weirdos were knocking on people's doors throughout the neighborhood, and if someone wasn't home, they would break in and rob the place.
See? Being a homebody can be good. I may not have much of a social life, but nobody be taking my wrestling and Scooby-Doo action figures away from me.
Anyway, Kristen McKay, played by Liv Tyler, and James Hoyt, played by Scott Speedman, borrow a friend's remote home for a romantic getaway following a friend's wedding they've attended. Lance tries to propose marriage to Kristen, but Kristen turns down the proposal, probably because Loverboy chose to kill her cabin in the woods for a romantic getaway instead of Hawaii or something. Dream on, pal. And yes, expect plenty of Aerosmith references in this video, since Liv Tyler is Steven Tyler's daughter, and these things pretty much write themselves. Anyway, there is no sweet emotion for these two, see, when a creepy blonde teenage girl knocks on the door shortly after 4 and asks if Tamara's home. They turn her away, thinking she has lost her own drugs or something. James goes on a drive to pick up some cigarettes, since he may as well skip to the smoking, since there will be no forbidding dancing tonight. While James is away, the strange blonde chick known as Dollface comes back and asks for Tamara again. Kristen gets freaked out. Dollface is soon joined by her other masked buddies, Pinup Girl and the blandly named Man in Mask. Guess he was taking a leak when they were passing out cool horror movie villain names. Kristen is tormented by bangs on the door, windows, and all sorts of banging chicanery going on outside, and acts like I do whenever people are outside my apartment trying to give me religious tracts. Loverboy James eventually returns with his Siggy Wiggies in tow. Kristen explains to James about what has been happening, and they make an attempt to escape in James's car, but Pinup Girl rear-ends him, facing them to run away back to the house. Calm down.
She wasn't trying to hit you. She just doesn't know how to drive.
Back in the house, James has got a gun as he finds a shotgun. Nobody messes with a dude's ride. It's on like a pot of neck bone. James, who called the owner of the house, his buddy Mike, earlier to come pick him up since Kristen refused his proposal and staying there would have been awkward, forgets that he called Mike earlier and shoots him dead, thinking that Mike was one of the masked strangers.
This is why it's best to insist that your friends just call a cab when they're in the middle of a lover's quarrel.
With more masked stranger shenanigans goings on, both inside and outside the house, Kristen finally demands an explanation from them as to why they are acting like such butts.
Why are you doing this to us? Because you were home.
Well, at least you had a good reason for it, sister. I mean, I had it coming to me for being at home on a Friday night anyway. Maybe it's not such a good idea to be a homebody after all.
The strangers unmask, revealing their looks to Kristen and James. But we don't get to see what their faces look like. That's unfair. However, you can easily find out what they look like thanks to the magic of Google. And trust me, you'll want to. It's worth it. They're lookers. The unmasked strangers take turns stabbing James and Kristen before leaving at dawn, only to be spotted in their truck by kids with religious tracts.
Can I have one? Are you a sinner? Sometimes.
The two boys stumble upon the bloody bodies of James and Kristen. Kristen grabs one of the boys by his leg and screams. And now both of the boys decide upon becoming Assembly of God like me. No more passing out tracts door to door, just music that'll put the boogie in your shoes and lots of fried chicken to eat. Ooh-wee! The Strangers is kind of a slow starter at first, with spots that do drag on, but mostly it builds uncertain unease and tension nicely with its minimalistic cast in claustrophobic settings. Director Brian Bertina does a terrific job at getting real reactions from Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman by mentioning in an interview that he would never tell them when and where loud noises would happen, giving them authentic reactions. Liv and Scott do a terrific job being ragdolled by the masked menaces as the strangers themselves are kept shrouded in mystery throughout the film. Please join me here next week as I review Strangers 2, Pray at Night. I've been Preston E. Garrison, and I'm out of here! All right, I'm gone.